Welcome back. A federal high court in Abuja has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to nullify the certificate of return issued to Mr. Christian Abba for the Ado Okpoku Ogbadibo federal constituency seat in the House of Representatives at the forthcoming 8th National Assembly. The presiding judge, Justice Adeniyi Ademola, while delivering judgment in the suit challenging Mr. Abba's eligibility to stand for the election, held that the allegation of certificate forgery leveled against him by the plaintiff, Mr. Hassan Saleh, had been established to be true. Mr. Abba was said to have forged an ordinary national diploma certificate in accountancy purportedly obtained from the Federal Polytechnic, Mubi, in 1985. Justice Ademola said his findings reveal that an earlier judgment of the National State Assembly Elections Petitions Tribunal, sitting in Makurdi, delivered on September 6, 2011, and a letter by the Registrar of the Polytechnic, Mr. Suleiman Buba, affirmed that the certificate presented by Mr. Abba to INEC was forged. The All Progressive Congress has promised to diversify the nation's economy to solve the myriad of economic challenges facing the country. Speaking at a gathering in Abuja, the Vice President-elect, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, said the current servicing of over 21% of the nation's debt from the budget is unacceptable. Professor Osinbajo said the new administration will focus on how to make the agricultural sector create jobs and contribute meaningfully to the nation's socio-economic development. Professor Osinbajo put the nation's local and international debt profile at $60 billion, with a 2015 debt serving bill of $953.6 billion, representing 21% of the 2015 budget. The Vice President-elect says that an estimated 110 million out of the nation's over 170 million population live in extreme poverty, while the largest chunk of the benefits of the nation's wealth accrues to a small percentage of the population. The Vice President-elect adds that the manifesto of the All Progressive Congress offers a vision of shared prosperity and socio-economic inclusion for all Nigerians that leaves no one behind in the pursuit of a prosperous and fulfilling life.
Call it an economic think tank for the incoming administration, and you won't be wrong. Politicians, finance experts, members of the international community all converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to discuss what must be done to change the economic fortunes of the country. The Vice President-elect, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was the first to speak. He outlined the priorities of the incoming administration.
We are concerned that our economy is currently in perhaps its worst moment in history. Local and international debt stands at $60 billion. Our debt servicing for 2015 is $953.6 billion, 21% of our budget. On account of severely dwindled resources, over two-thirds of the states in Nigeria owe salaries. Federal institutions are not much better. Today, the nation borrows to fund recurrent expenditure.
And in what appears to be words of advice for the incoming government, former European Trade Commissioner criticized the level of corruption and impunity in the country. He suggested that the cleansing exercise should start from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC.
When I look at Nigeria, I would say that your vulnerability is corruption. That's not new to you, but particularly around the oil sector.
With two-thirds of states in the country owing salaries and the nation's debt servicing being financed by the nation's budget, members of the All Progressives Congress believe that this is the time to correct all the anomalies. Just as the party's slogan, they promise an appreciable level of change in the economy.
The challenge of translating ideas into policy and praxis now looms large. Given the degree of work that has been put in by the Directorate and our well-documented national problems of policy implementation, further reinforced by the President-elect's speech this morning, the focus should now be on evolving an institutional framework to deliver the agenda for change.
With various suggestions on how the new administration should tackle the nation's problems, it appears the All Progressives Congress must hit the ground running once it assumes power on May the 29th.
One of the major problems of youth in Kano State, northwest Nigeria, has to do with drug abuse associated with the consumption of codeine syrup and other alleged intoxicating drugs. Investigations revealed that young girls and boys within the age bracket of 18 and 30 years are those caught in the act. In our community report tonight, our correspondent in Kano, Idris Jibrin, x-rays the implication of the abuse of codeine syrup, which he says is now common even among housewives.
Etisala, now you're talking.
Amina Kabir is a 21-year-old Kano-born drug addict. She started taking cough syrup with codeine 4 years ago and was introduced into the system by a friend who thought of assisting Amina after she was betrayed by her boyfriend. Amina is now a pretty good user, as she says she can take 3 to 5 bottles with 1 sachet of Repanol tablet on daily basis.
I used to take like 5 bottles in a day. That's if I don't have enough money. If I have enough money, I take 10 bottles a day. Then this one, I take like 5 bottles per day.
It is extremely difficult to find where these drugs are sold in Kano. But investigation revealed a massive inflow of codeine syrup in Kano through invincible dealers. Shehu Sani is a former retailer who never met his dealer one-on-one. How he get his products remain unknown.
Each and every day we used to have about 25% increase of codeine members. Those are starting taking it, and the majority of them are girls. And in some ways, housewives, they do take it. And here in Kano, for example, I have about 2 friends now that they used to come together with their wives and buy, and they do take together.
Cough syrup with codeine is a new psychoactive pharmaceutical product ethically prescribed in the hospital for people diagnosed with cough and catarrh. It also helps to suppress severe pain. In Kano, it is called slow shift to the ground because it slowly intoxicates the users. According to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, so far, there has not been any law or legislation to enforce regarding the production and distribution of cough syrup containing codeine. However, authorities recognize the threat posed by codeine syrup in the fight against drug abuse.
The NDL Act specifically deals with illicit drugs. I'm not saying some prescription drugs that are controlled are not covered by the NDL Act. Some of them are covered by the NDL Act. But there are other bodies too that have that responsibility. I want to state here that the Sharia legal system has done well.
This habitual act, according to psychiatrists, stimulates the reward center of human brain, resulting to addiction and overdependence on codeine syrup.
People that are dependent on codeine, if they don't take it, they will experience severe muscles and joint pains, very, very severe ones. Difficulty with sleeping. Some cannot sleep for several weeks. And then there's feeling of excessive sadness, to the extent that some sometimes contemplate committing suicide.
Despite repeated effort by the state governments, which includes the ban on the sale and distribution of drugs in the Sabongari open market, consumption has only increased as Kano State continues to be on the top list of the NDLEA for over 6 years now. Idris Jibrin, Channels Television News.
Etisala, now you're talking.
As part of the efforts to instill discipline and professionalism in the military, the Nigerian Army has announced the court-martialing of 579 soldiers. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the acting director of Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, says the Nigerian Army remains committed to curtailing the activities of insurgents, and any soldier found to be culpable of acts threatening the security of the Nigerian state will be made to face the full wrath of the law. Colonel Usman advised everyone to remain vigilant and report any suspected breach of peace to security agencies. He adds that this has become necessary in view of the fact that Boko Haram terrorists have now resorted to using children as suicide bombers, since the terrorists are being routed from their strongholds.
First Bank. You first.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business News. I am Adeshewa Josh. The harmonization of banks' cash reserve ratio requirements on private and public sectors deposits at 31% is expected to aid liquidity creation in the financial market. But a capital market analyst, Victor Ogwenwoye, says the impact of the policy shift may not be immediate on the banking stocks. Ogwenwoye analysis shows that the harmonized ratios will create mixed reactions in the banking operations in the short term.
What has happened now is that you brought the 25% CCR requirement for private sector to 31. That tightens it a bit. But you also took the government one from 75 down to 31. You have also created, some kind of liquidity. I think the two of them will work well. I think it's a good way, it's a gradual way to manage the economy. Anytime you make a change, there will be some winners and some losers. There will be some banks that, because of the fact that they will have to, if they were, for instance, they had more private sector deposits, which is what we'll be driving in the last few months, that might affect them a bit because they have to keep more of those reserves. For those that are also heavily with government finances, they're also going to see a reduction in that. But the good thing about that is that generally we are going to be seeing a trend where most of the money is going to the central bank anyway. If they are going to be where the era where banks used to have huge government deposits that they are managing is going to definitely be affected.
Unity Bank has stated that its share reconstruction exercise will lead to sustainable dividend payout in the near future. The executives of the rural economy-based bank said this during the facts behind the figures presentation at the Nigerian Stock Exchange in Lagos. Our correspondent Tempula Shaju reports.
Unity Bank is a quoted lender with a market capitalization of over 64 billion naira. With a historical record of a successful capital raising and share reconstruction, it's time to observe the obligation of the facts behind the figures presentation. The process kicked off with the sounding of the closing gong and a brief address on the trading floor.
Our friends, the brokers, without you, I don't know where our stock would be because we can trade on our own. So we're here because to take you through what we've been doing, especially for the 2014 figures.
And at the plenary, the Chief Executive, Henry Seminatari, intimates market operators with the institution's rural economy-based banking model.
The rural economy holds sway, as you can see. It is premised on the strategic importance for first-level farming, entrepreneurship, and attainment of the financial inclusion strategy. Reaching out to the unbanked. The rural economy itself also remains pivotal, as I did say, to GDP and also per capita income.
Engaged afterwards in the question and answer session, he demands a medium to long-term outlook on the company's share reconstruction and negative retained earnings.
Share reconstruction is a long-distance race. It's just happened barely a month ago with your support. I think it is right time as we go along. It will be in the right trajectory. It's premised strictly on performance, and we are determined to perform. Our dark days are over as Unity Bank. So talk to friends, your brokers, your market intermediators. church won't take 2 hand clap, then get good chorus, 1 hand, then they get chorus.
Unity Bank recorded growth from a loss position of 33.64 billion naira in 2013 to a profit before tax of 13 billion naira in 2014. For 2015, the lender is projecting a 29% growth in profit. Temple Ashaju, Channels Business News.
Now we'll take you back to the Nigerian equities market, where the market closed in the red, losing 0.5% of its all-share index. Here's Krista Cole with the day's trading numbers.
Hello, here's the stock market's report. The Nigerian bourse recorded another close in the red, losing 0.50%, bringing the all-share index to 34,533.40. Mobil leads the gainers list with a 3 naira gain, followed by Nigeria Breweries, which gained 60 kobo. Ashaka Cement also gets a spot on the gainers list with a 50 kobo gain. Now, on the decliners table, Nestle lost 25 naira, 2 kobo. Forte Oil shed 2 naira, while Better Glass is down 1 naira, 71 kobo. On the volumes chart, Lazako leads with trading just a little over 1.5 billion stocks. Skybank is next with selling 56 million shares, while UBA sold 40 million shares. Now, in total, just over 1.8 billion shares valued at 5.4 billion naira were traded in 4,797 deals. And that's the stock market's report. I am Christy Cole.
Well, thanks a lot, Christy. That will be all on business news tonight. The news at 10 continues in a moment.
First Bank. You first.
Next on the news at 10, Islamic State militants in Syria take control of the ancient city of Palmyra. Please stay with us.